Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Good to see you. Thank you for coming along today to learn about how you can live better through neuroscience and learning about how brilliantly the Havening tools can work for you and how you can use a biology informed practice in everyday life. So it's really cool.
Hmm.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Great. And are
Can you
you
hear me
comfortable?
okay?
Yep, yep, it's good, thanks. And it's good you've got really good light on your face and everything. That's really super, thank you.
Good.
Are you comfy enough and do you have a glass of water?
Yes, I've got a glass of tonic, actually.
Great. And if you've got dogs or family or something like that, and that's absolutely fine as well. I'd really like to introduce you to some of the tools of psychosensory. So I say tools, but really they're skills, and actually they're skills that we use every day anyway. But in psychosensory practice, we use them in a certain kind of way, and we also think about them in a certain kind of way. So it takes about 5 minutes. Does that
Hmm.
sound okay? We can
Yeah,
do it in a kind of fun way, and it also
yeah,
means we get to know each other a bit and we get a chance to kind of relax a wee bit and have a bit of a smile. So so if that's all good, yeah.
yeah, it sounds fine. Yeah.
And the session's very much yours. I'll tell you absolutely everything so you're completely in control. And as you
Mhm.
learn, because you'll learn what to do, so you'll absolutely know what you're doing. Sorry, I have to cough. Dear. Ah, dear
Mm.
me. So, okay, so what we could do to get going so that we've got a kind of vehicle to look at these skills is we could choose a topic that's something that you really like.
Hmm.
That's just completely relaxing for you to think about and really gives you really good feelings. So
Yeah.
to identify that, it's a
Mm.
good idea to kind of play with a range of things because obviously I don't know you yet and you don't know me yet. So we can use this little kind of um how would you call it? It's not a game exactly, but it's kind of like a game. It's kind of fun to do. So shall we do that?
Yeah.
Takes about 3 minutes or something. So the way it works is I'm going to ask um, sort of six questions, and you'll notice that they're sort of based on something like sound or smell or laughing or something like that. And you might, if you like, you can say to me, "What's your favorite one?" So you know we
Mm.
can
Mm.
totally do it together. That's
Okay.
fine. And what we're going to do is we're going to choose the one that appeals to us. Now, some
Mm.
of the things I say won't appeal to you at all, so you'll probably be like, "Ugh," you know. And like that's great. That's absolutely fine. We're just going to choose the stuff where you kind of go, oh yeah. And we're just looking for something that appeals to you today. So we could do this again in an hour, or we could do it tomorrow or next week, and you might choose different things, or you might
Okay.
choose the same things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we should go for it. Okay. So let's start with sounds. So
Mm.
I'm gonna read out like six different sounds. And then if you just kind of notice how you respond to those ideas and pick the one
Yeah.
that appeals to you most just now. So
And you want me to tell you the one that I pick?
yeah, once I've done
Yeah.
the list.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So okay, so the sound of bird song, the sound of a jazz concert, the sound of a school playground with all the kids making noise and laughing and all that kind of stuff. The sound of a really beautiful engine, like maybe a motorbike or a car or something. That sound. Um, the sound of um, just when it's like really quiet. So you would kind of think it's silent, but actually there's not this like little, once you start listening, there's more noises. So you might really like that kind of sound.
Mm.
Um, the sound of a busy city with just lots of activity. The sound of the sea, the sound of a big thunderstorm and really heavy rain. So what do you fancy out of that lot? What one did you respond to?
I went for the bird song
The
straight away.
first song. That was quick.
Yeah.
Um, I think today I really can't fancy that thunderstorm or something, but maybe because it's quite
Yeah,
hot here, so
yeah,
I kind of want rain now or something. So
yeah.
that was the one that I chose. Great, that's really good. Okay, let's do taste.
Mm,
So taste and smell. Well, let's mix them together. So what do you like the scent of? Do you like the scent of a barbecue? That's with the smoke and the sausages and the outside air. Or do you like the scent of, if you go somewhere inside, like the scent of a library where there's all those kind of old books.
mm,
I think that's got a special name as well.
mm,
Then there's the scent of, some people really love the scent of places like gambling places, that kind of inside internal kind of space, kind of that you get in kind of clubs and pubs and snooker halls and those kind of places. Um, but the smell of like where infants live, like babies, where there's sort of talcum powder and all those kind of, I don't know, everything's really clean and there's a particular kind of smell. Or the smell after rain, that's got a special name as well.
mm,
It's indescribable, actually, the smell after rain. It's
mm,
like you can smell everything. Or how about in the snow, when you're in the snow and there's that kind of crispness? That's a sound as well, isn't it? That so you can
mm.
sort of hear things in a really different way. The smell of roses. The smell of, gave me a big smell. The smell of lilies, those really powerful lilies. Um, the smell of perfume. Um, else? The smell of garlic cooking, or the smell of coffee, or the smell of bread. This is a kind of household, or the smell of curry, or something like that. So when you think of those things, what do you notice, and what do you choose as a favorite for today?
Well, it's a kind of toss-up between the library, which is
Yeah.
more of a wintry thing, and the roses, which is a summer thing. So I think I'll go for the roses.
Okay.
Smell of roses.
That's cool. I couldn't decide actually. There's a smell
Mm,
of the beach. I think I'd like to go to the beach. So maybe for me, the smell of the ocean, and I think that something to do with there's a lot of oxygen in there or something.
mm, mm,
So when we're doing this, each of these spoken words, if you like, we can make sense of those and relate them to the sort of sensory experiences. And that activates tiny receptors in our brain that we made when we had those experiences. So every time we have an experience, like the times I've smelt, opened a pack of coffee and smelt that fresh coffee, or put my nose into different kinds of roses to smell them. Um, each time you do that, what happens is two neurons come together. So it's a bit like a communication, like two people coming together. And then this one's sending information about the sensory input coming in. And this one picks it up. And actually, when we learn something, the actual mechanics of learning is that we make receptors. So they come out of this neuron and they pop out onto the surface and they receive this information, which is actually, first of all, it's electrical and then it's chemical, and the chemicals cross this gap, which is called the synapse, and engage with the receptors. And then another electrical signal continues, and that's how we function. That's what's going on.
mm.
And then when those receptors get activated, there's a lot of signaling across the brain in different locations in the brain, and chemicals are made, signals are sent out to the rest of the body, and we experience our experience of that. So,
Ah.
so
So can I, do you mind if
yeah,
I ask?
yeah,
Well, so would there be lots of receptors for the smell of roses, for instance?
yeah.
There'd be, because all the different elements of that aroma, for instance, or would it just be one receptor for roses and another
Lots,
for lilies?
Lots. We know quite a lot about the receptors. We know that they're an AMPA receptor is a very common receptor, and they think there's around about 15 on each um, neuron. But we have millions, billions of receptors. So
Mm,
your earliest experience of a rose,
mm,
I remember my granddad introducing me to, I think it was probably my granddad who introduced me to roses.
yeah,
And it's multi-sensory, isn't it? Because there's the
yeah,
smell and the petals
yeah,
and looking at the inside of it, and then the
yeah.
bees coming and the
Mm.
meaning as well that roses
And it
have
and
for
it
you.
stays with you for years. I mean, I remember smelling plants, particular plants, cycling to school at the age of literally at the age of 5. You know, the smell of
Yeah,
privet flowering. I mean, and it stays with you forever, and it evokes that same
yeah,
memory. Really,
absolutely.
it's a very powerful sort of
Yeah,
trigger thing,
yeah.
isn't it?
They're a really
Mm,
good example. So we can think of it as it's it's called sensory input, but sensory input's quite a mouthful in some ways. So a really good word for it is cue, which is spelled CUE.
yeah.
And it's really kind of useful, this idea of having a kind of biology informed way of living is you can just really enjoy noticing what cues you.
Mm,
And this, what I'm talking about here, making these receptors, which is learning, the mechanical process of learning is called synaptic plasticity. So it's called after the space in between the two of them. They never actually touch, they signal across the space. It's like people coming out of one room and crossing the street and going into another building. So leave this building,
mm,
cross the street and then engage in the building. They might do different things in
mm,
the building, or they might block the door, or
mm,
they can do different things, and that changes um, whether there is more electrical signal sent down this one. So if there's
mm,
more, we have a more powerful response, and we go, "Oh, I love roses," or
mm,
I love horses. So sometimes if I'm on a train journey or something, and I'm just sitting there for hours, and I see a really nice horse, I actually sort of shout out loud, "Oh, there's a horse!" Even if I'm not with anybody. But that's exactly what's happening. I see the horse, the receptors activate. I have this feeling of sort of motivation and excitement about them,
mm,
and then I vocalize, so I have to remember to, not turn around to a stranger and go, "Oh, it's a really nice one there." So we're actually quite simple. So although we have so many receptors, it's quite a simple process. It's just sort of
mm, mm,
matching, and we're doing
mm,
it all the time. And the other thing that we do is, you might have had a favorite rose that you really liked, and
mm,
then, for years and years and years, and then found another new rose, because I know they make new roses nowadays, and just that became your favorite, and
mm,
that's the one that you love most of all. And it's fascinating because now we know what happens when that happens. So you had your receptors for the first kind of rose, so you'd loads of
mm,
them and loads of junctions and all the different experiences, places you've seen them, and when they've been particularly beautiful, or when you've had to care for them or something, or when you've given them to people or been given them. There's just so many experiences. But
mm,
if you then get a new favorite, what happens is some of the receptors are actually absorbed about the old favorite, and then you make new receptors about the new experience. And that's how we can make these changes. So we're constantly, as we talk to each other, both of us are making receptors and absorbing
mm.
receptors. It's just,
Is,
it's
is that is that where the plasticity comes in then? It,
exactly.
does that
Uh,
suggest that it's changing? It can change at any time.
Yeah,
Or,
it's
yeah.
changing all the time,
Mm,
absolutely all the time. And then, so it's interesting what we're doing because we're using words, and we use words ourselves, and we also use our thoughts. So
mm,
our thoughts, you can think of them as sensory input as well,
mm,
because of how the brain responds to our thoughts.
mm,
We would
mm,
add that to smell, taste, thoughts. So once we really kind of take on board this biology, then we can see that how we think actually really matters, and how we what we say and what we say to ourselves and what we think about things has an impact. And our
mm,
brain uses that information to save time. Um,
mm,
so so we're constantly predicting,
mm,
so if we sort of go out somewhere and we think
mm,
we're going to see roses, or I like lilies, so we think we're going to see them, then we're going to be predicting that we're maybe going to have a good time.
mm,
Some of those things that I cued you with, and I cued myself because I was hearing them too and I was saying them. Um, some of those things I don't want to go to at all. I think you, from looking at how you responded, because that's why we emote to
mm,
communicate with
mm,
each other. We also emote to communicate with ourselves.
mm,
So sometimes if we want to, kind of do our best about something, we kind of go, right, okay, I'll, stand up and I'll smile and I'll put my
mm,
best foot forward and things. And that actually kind of makes a difference because of how we're signaling what receptors we're activating and what messages that sends out and how we respond to it. So it makes a difference in our chemistry from making, when we think about the flowers, we're generating, our brain generates oxytocin and endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, and GABA. I call it goods. It's a Dutch word for well, and it's
mm,
spelled Goeds. So it's like
mm,
goods. And G is GABA. GABA is
mm,
amazing. It's when you feel calm, you've got a lot of GABA. Oxytocin, we know, is like love and feeling enthusiastic about things, safe as well. So that's your O. Then your E is endorphins when we're excited about something, or if we've been
mm,
bouncing up and down, or things like that, we get endorphins. D is dopamine. So we get
mm,
dopamine if we think, if you were sort of thinking, I'm going to buy this rose that I like and I'm going to plant it there, and one
mm,
day it'll grow up and it'll
mm,
big and beautiful. Um, when you do that, just the thinking about it, the planning of getting it, you will make dopamine.
mm,
And then if you made your purchase, you would get dopamine. And when it arrived in the
mm,
post, you would make dopamine. And then when you plant it, you get dopamine. you
mm,
know. So as we sort of move towards things,
mm,
we make dopamine. So it's kind of like activity, if you like, in that way. And then so that gives you your D of goods, and then the S is serotonin. And we
And
make
sorry, what does the Dutch word mean again?
it means well.
Well, that's quite good.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
Mm,
nice, isn't it? I was
yeah.
really pleased when I found it. I was like, oh, that's handy. So it's a bit like good's easy to remember now. You just pop an
Yeah.
E in it. It's like
Yeah.
goods, well. And it kind of means like well-being.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little kind of checklist. And when we're thinking about living better through neuroscience and we start thinking about the goods checklist,
Mm,
then we have to start kind of shaping our life to
mm,
have a lot of goods. And so obviously adrenaline and cortisol are really useful if we need to
mm,
move. If somebody throws a snowball at us, we
mm,
want to be able to duck super fast.
mm,
We don't want to have to sort of think snowball coming on a duck. We want our brain and body to do that for us, like, so we're like, it missed us. Um, and so we want to have adrenaline and cortisol to be able to do those things, and dopamine as well is involved in that. Um, but we don't want to have that all the time. We don't want to have
mm.
too much adrenaline, too much cortisol
No,
when
you just
actually,
twitch.
what's that?
You just twitch all the time, thinking
Yeah,
about
just be
snowball.
angry all the time, raging or sad or, heavy feeling or,
Mm,
and I think if we think about wild animals like deer, then, we see how when they're making adrenaline and cortisol, if they're frightened of something, they stop
mm,
and then they run off. If
mm,
the threat still continues, they sort of tend to usually run
mm,
off. And then that movement away probably burns up quite a lot of adrenaline and cortisol. Whereas
mm,
if we're living a very modern life, we're not moving in that kind of way.
mm,
Um, and so often, actually, it's our thoughts that generate the adrenaline and cortisol.
mm.
Because often the threat
You
is,
mean rather than an external threat,
yeah,
it's a
exactly.
sort of fear of something,
Yeah,
or yeah.
yeah. And we
Mm,
fear things like, anything to do with being stuck. So the sort of scientific term for it would be inescapable, but we in our conversation we talk about being stuck or but we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Mm.
I don't know that we need to do much more um, of our sensory kind of game because I think we got a really good result
Mm.
with your rose. So we could take that a step further and I could introduce you to some of the, like I was saying, the tools of psychosensory so that you know what you're going to be using, a bit like having your toolbox. So would you like to do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, okay. So let's use the roses thing for that. And what would be great is if you can just think about, a beautiful rose that you really like. And you might find it easier to close your eyes.
Hmm.
And what we're interested in, this particular set of skills, is not about telling a story to somebody else about it, not about sharing it. It's
Mm.
about your own experience of it. So it's like noticing, as your brain, as those receptors activate, as your brain and body respond to that cue of thinking about the rose, or if you were actually seeing the rose or handling the rose, just notice if you notice a picture or pictures.
Hmm.
You might have a dialogue as well. It might be um, something you say to yourself about roses, or it might be the name of the rose, or you might have a picture of the label of the rose. And of course, when I'm saying these things, they're all cues. So I might be diverting you from what you're thinking about to something else
Mm.
because I'm cueing things like labels and
Mm.
stuff. But that's okay,
Mm.
just go with that.
Mm.
And notice um, as you observe that, because you can question yourself if you like, and as you observe the information from the receptors that you have, just notice how your body responds to that in this moment. So you might notice something like how your feet feel, how
Mm.
your hands feel. Do your hands feel like they're kind of open and soft, or do they feel like they clench really tight? Do your shoulders feel like they're kind of relaxed? Does your breathing feel, what do you notice about it? Do you notice your jaw? How soft is your jaw? Or are your teeth tight closed and is your jaw tight or is it soft? Your nose, like does your
Right.
nose? I know that when I think about flowers, my nose
Mm.
opens as I
Yeah. Mm.
access about the smell.
Mm.
And notice also as you pick up all that information, notice if you can pick up well, it's not kind of if you, it's more like if you think about the center of yourself. So it's a bit like sometimes we're really centered. It's like, we're really in the middle of ourselves, like a weeble wobble. We won't fall over. And other times it's almost like we're outside of ourselves.
Mm.
We're almost like watching ourselves, or sometimes we're very much in our head, or we're in our throat, or we say it in language. We talk about, oh, I've got a block in my throat, or I'm in my head, or I'm in my heart, or I'm grounded on my feet. So it's a kind of almost abstract way of thinking, but it's part of our brain. We've got part of our brain across here. It's called the somatosensory cortex. And when we talk in metaphor and when we notice those kind of sensations,
Yeah.
it's actually this part of the brain. So with roses, you may notice something like that in your body.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, the signal wasn't very good and you froze a couple of times.
Right.
So I missed that, just that last little bit that you spoke about. Was
That's
it
okay.
about
The thing is a bit
centering?
like a abstract kind of sensation. It's to do with part of the brain that's called the somatosensory cortex. And anytime we
Uh,
find ourselves talking in metaphor, we're probably using
yeah.
that part of the brain. So with the
Mm.
roses, when you think about them, you may feel like your heart is expanded, or you're in your
Mm.
tummy, or you feel very
Mm.
grounded, or um, you might feel outside yourself. It's an interesting thing to notice, to look for.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. No, I'm afraid that the signal between us seems to be breaking up a bit.
That's all right. Just give it a little minute.
Mm.
That's okay.
Yeah, it'll catch up with itself probably.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can work with that.
yeah,
So just take a little minute and notice about the rose or the
yeah. So do
roses.
you want me to tell you what I feel? Or?
More just like, did you notice a picture or a sound or a sensation?
Mm,
And
yeah, yeah. It was for me. It was both a picture, and I could feel my nose going right into the center of the rose, and I could feel the smell going. It's as though it sort of completely permeated me. I could almost feel it traveling right down into my lungs and sort of flooding me with that sensation,
that's
and sort of
brilliant.
bringing back all the memories of the times that I've smelt a rose. Really,
That's
really enjoyed
brilliant.
it.
Really good. That's great. So what's wonderful about this is I was thinking there's never any reason to be bored because we could just actually cue ourselves and change our chemistry in that way. And that can be so useful. We've got
Yeah,
quite a broken signal. I wonder if we should maybe shift location. I don't
yeah.
know.
Well, I think we have. Do you think we should try and reconnect? Or
Yeah, I think we should because this it's really good what we've been talking about.
it
Um,
is it's breaking up more and more, unfortunately.
yeah, I think
So
so.
do you want me to switch this off? And
Yeah, let's just it's okay when this happens. What we could do is we could just close and then come back to the Zoom meeting where we are and see if we get a better signal.
yeah, let's try that.
Let's do that.
Okay. Okay. So
And that's all good.
right. So if you close yours and I'll close mine, I'll try to close mine.
We'll come